you are elusive for a party that needs to tidy up. I work with some of the biggest names in the industry. Crisis is my thing. One thing we don't want to do for you is create another person. I'm going to call Harrison Floyd. I'm going to put him on speaker. Who is Harrison Floyd? Harrison Floyd is Harrison Floyd. Of that works in crisis management at a very high level with authoritative powers to get you the protection that you need. And I do want the officers to know this is at this moment a conversation in between private citizens. I am hoping that you are trusting that this information doesn't go any further. I have to honestly advise, I don't know her background.
I can step over there if you're comfortable. That's fine?
Yeah, I want her to be comfortable, but I also want to advise her that there are federal people who are involved here that I don't know who is connected to who. And I really need for her to be as nonchalant as possible with this conversation that we are going to have so that if she does make a decision, she's protected in her decision.
Let's talk about a couple of the heroes that have emerged from the litany of indictments slapped on Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and their cohorts, Trevian Kutti, Harrison Floyd, and Stephen Lee, all in the aftermath of their coordinated attempt to overturn the election. There, you saw publicist Trevian Kutti, who's been accused of attempting to pressure Georgia election worker Ruby Freeman there into falsely admitting to rigging the election in the state in order to fit the lies that the Trump campaign was spreading about her and her daughter, Shay Moss. The exchange was an insulting addition to the harassment that she received due to the former president's lies, which completely upended her life.
My name is Ruby Freeman. I've always believed that when God says that he'll make your name great, but this is not the way it was supposed to be. I could have never imagined the events that followed the presidential election 2020. For my entire professional life, I was Lady Ruby. My community in Georgia, where I was born and lived my whole life, knew me as Lady Ruby. I built my own business around that name, La Ruby's Unique Treasures. Now I won't even introduce myself by my name anymore. I get nervous when I bump into someone I know in the grocery store who says my name. I'm worried about who's listening. I get nervous when I have to give my name for food orders. I'm always concerned of who's around me. I've lost my name and I've lost my reputation. I've lost my sense of security.
Kutti was allegedly dispatched by Harrison Floyd, whom she falsely identified as a black progressive crisis manager, in order to convince Freeman to confess to the things that they accused her of by utilizing the phantom fear of faceless feds showing up at her door. Now, these actual American heroes in Miss Freeman and Shay Moss found the courage to stand their ground and stick to the truth despite the very scary situation that they were put in. Here's Shay on how it affected her.
Ms. Moss, can you describe what you experienced listening to former President Trump attack you and your mother in a call with the Georgia Secretary of State?
I felt horrible. I felt like it was all my fault. Like, if I would have never decided to be an elections worker, like, I could have done anything else, but that's what I decided to do. And now people are lying and spreading rumors and lies and attacking my mom. I'm her only child. Going to my grandmother's house. I'm her only grandchild. And my kid. It's just, I felt so bad. I just felt bad for my mom, and I felt horrible for picking this job and being the one that always wants to help and always there, and never missing not one election. I just felt like it was my fault for putting my family in this situation.
These are the stories of real patriots that work to protect our democracy, despite incredible pressure from un-American figures like these who sent multiple people to lie and tell them that they wanted to help. Videos, personal accounts, and testimonies seem to clearly illustrate the coordinated effort to make these women collateral damage, all for the glory of Donald Trump, to continue to feed off of the country from his perch at the White House.
We've got multiple charges now, multiple felony criminal charges against people who allegedly tried to intimidate Ruby Freeman, who went to her home, who talked to her neighbors, who banged on her door, who told her that they were there to help her when they absolutely were not.
You know, we know that Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani really ruined these people's lives based on the testimony we heard in Congress last summer. Were willing to sacrifice their lives to achieve their illegal ends, at least allegedly illegal ends. And so I think it is appropriate to see some measure of justice for those two women with these charges that they were harassed and charges that they were approached by false statements trying to get them to confess that they had actually thrown the election and had cheated on the election. Incredibly bold request to these women who resisted those overtures, and now to see some measure of justice for them. I think it's really important because it puts a human face on the victimhood in this case, who the real victim is.
As Americans, we preach a lot about principled stances on truth and justice for the sake of the nation. But when these two women literally exhibited those morals in the face of extreme pressure and threats on their lives, we have to ask ourselves why there's still so many of us that refuse to even consider that the evidence we see is absolutely valid. Ruby Freeman and Shaye Moss should be celebrated by people that actually love this country. And if we focus more on the facts that are coming out instead of how badly it makes MAGA look, we could be proud of these indictments. But ironically, MAGA politicians like Ted Cruz have decided to neglect their own words of the past because power and corruption are just too tempting to resist.
When we honor the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta next year, we'll be celebrating the bedrock of the free systems of both the UK and the United States. It will be an important opportunity for us to reaffirm our commitment to the rule of law as outlined in the Constitution, which is based on the principles of separation of powers laid out in the Magna Carta, namely that no man is above the law, especially not the President of the United States.
Now, remember what Cruz just said about the rule of law and presidents, and watch just how little he believes in those same principles when they apply to Trump, now that he just might be held accountable for his actions.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed at these over and over and over again. If there are indictments tonight, it'll be the fourth indictment of Donald Trump. This is disgraceful. Our country is over 200 years old. We have never once indicted a former president or a candidate and a leading candidate for president. And this is Joe Biden and this is the Democrats weaponizing the justice system because they're afraid of the voters. This is disgraceful. It is wrong, and it is an abuse of power